In this video we will learn how to resolve conflicts in Git. In order to understand how to resolve them, we first need to figure out what exactly is a conflict. In the previous video we performed a merge of two branches, which resulted in the creation of some eventual commit, which combined in itself the changes that were made in both of the branches. Oftentimes, when the same files are edited in several branches, we end up with a conflict because Git cannot automatically figure out which changes from which branches are, so to speak, considered the most correct or the most relevant ones. Git cannot do that because it's unable to comprehend the content of the files we're working with. Let's first simulate a conflict and see how we can sort it out. We have the original lyrics and we have the feature branch and the master branch. I'll begin by adding the second verse in the master, which means the second verse of the song will appear in the master when we commit the lyrics. We go back and git bash again, add song.txt and commit. Okay. Now we move over the feature branch. In the feature branch, we've got the old version of the file. The commit that we performed in the master, which was the addition of the second verse, and not yet in the feature branch. And now in the feature branch, I will add the third verse, and we'll see what will happen in Git when we try to merge the two branches with two different file contents. Repeat all of the same steps, add song.txt, commit the third verse. Okay, now we go back to the master and try to do a merge. We merge the feature into the master. And now we have a conflict. We can see this bar right here that says merging, auto merging failed, conflict, and so on. What happens on the disk? On the disk, the file turns into scary looking entity. We basically got the contents of this file mixed up with dividing symbols like this. As a rule, these symbols do not compile in any programming language, so we can immediately see that our code has stopped compiling. There are red flags and so on and so forth. Let's now calmly figure out what happened. At the very top, we have our first verse, which is the same in the feature and the master. This is the shared content that Git identified as a common to the both branches. The next thing we see in our conflict file is the head pointer. The head is saying that it is located in the branch we are in at the moment. It's essentially the master. It's that head that I have. It's my leading commit. So as it happens, in the leading commit in the master we have the second verse. After these equal signs, we get what we had in the feature. So basically, what is Git's issue with this file? It's telling us, look, here's what you got in the master and here's what you got in the feature. Now make up your mind about which text is the right one and make a decision. I decide to keep both the second verse and the third verse. I remove these markers automatically created by Git, remove the redundant lines and make the following decision. I keep both the changes that were made in the master as well as the changes made in the feature and save the file. Again, we go back to git bash. What is git status telling us? Git status is informing us that we have some unmerged paths, some things that were not merged. Git is telling me to resolve the conflicts, which I've already done in Notepad, and to run git commit. Alternatively, if I don't feel like doing it, I can call the git merge with flag abort and cancel the merge to bring everything back to the way it was. And now here we have an option called both modified. I have already resolved the conflicts, and so now I'm ready to somehow capture these changes. In order to do that, I will call the git GUI and basically just add the file to the commit. Here we already have automatically generated text. If we were doing commit via, it would yet again call the vtext editor, and we'll be able to use it to add some things. Okay, I'm fine with the current commit message, so I click commit. Okay. And that's pretty much how our commit happened, meaning we have just resolved the conflict. And look, we're supposed to have a master with a flag saying merging, and now everything went back in its space, which means that we have printed the merge. How does that look in git k? In git k, it's going to look like an ordinary merge. It basically doesn't make any difference in the way it represents visually in git k merges that didn't have any conflicts and those that did. So right here we see the feature branch merging into master. That's it. And here's the content that was in it. And this is how you can resolve conflicts. Conflicts can be resolved by simply opening the source file that contains the conflict and making a decision about what's it supposed to be look like. If, for example, the second and the third verse contain some matching lines, it's possible that I would have removed them, or maybe would have created a mix of words from both verses. There are many options available here. It's possible to simply cancel on changes, accept someone else's changes as the correct ones. Let's see how conflicts can be avoided. Conflict will arise, but it's possible to avoid them. To avoid conflicts, we need to perform commits often. The more often we perform commits, the fewer files are affected by our changes. It's better to commit one feature 10 times than to do one big commit containing 10 features at once. A commit like that will always run a higher risk of causing conflicts. Next thing I want to recommend, try not to make any changes in any tabulation characters, spaces, line breaks, and so on. If I suddenly insert a line break and save it, then the content of the file itself won't change that much, right? The logical content, but for Git it would count as a new version. And if some developer in a different branch will add 2 line breaks instead of 1, then we'll end up with multiple different files, and that have to be merged manually later on. We aren't adding anything new to the logic, we're just increasing our own efforts that we'll have to waste during resolving these conflicts later. And frequent merges allows us to distribute possible conflicts in time. If we merge a branch with another one once a month, we're likely to have a conflict. But if we do it daily or at least weekly, then the likelihood of a conflict decreases and they will be easier to resolve. The more simple the file, the less changes and commits we have, the easier resolving the conflict for us. If we want to resolve a conflict, we also have a few interesting options. We can cancel a merge entirely. Let's say it's Friday night and I'm stuck in the office. I want to run a quick merge, but things didn't work out. I'm stuck in the Git merge and Git is asking me to resolve a conflict. I can simply cancel everything, do an abort, and consequently come back to it on Monday morning. There's also a possibility if you are sure that you didn't change much, but for some reason Git is showing that there are conflicts, a line break symbol was changed, you switched to a different operating system, and so on. So if you're thinking that you don't have any significant alterations, you can call the command git checkout with the flag x theirs. That way you're saying to Git, hey, if you think there is a conflict, just consider that other person's version is the correct one, or vice versa. If we are confident that our code is the best and everyone else's code is not as awesome, you can call the flag x hours and then only your changes will be accepted and all others will be ignored. You can also resolve conflicts using git diff directly in the command line in the bash, but this can be less convenient than doing it using the graphical interface. It's possible to revert commits, which means you can revert merges and resulting issues as well. And you can also use the merge tool. The merge tool is a special program that allows you to make the process of resolving conflicts in unusual files a bit easier. If it's a text file, let's say it's a piece of code or some more song lyrics, then there's nothing that complicated about it. You just open it in a notepad and clean it up here. But imagine if we've got an Excel file. Let's imagine we have two Excel tables, each one containing 100 columns and 100 rows, which makes 10,000 cells. Finding what's different between two sets of 10,000 cells can be pretty difficult. Or Word documents, or any other non-standard files that can be easily edited in Notepad. This is where a special merge tools can be used. There are various tools, KDiff for example, which allows us to display in a convenient way the general content and the content that's different, which makes our lives a tiny bit easier in terms of solving the conflicts. So these are the options of solving the conflicts in Git.